On part 39, we left off with the supplemental report of Dave Baumover talking about the transfer of baby Nico to the forensic laboratory. Moving straight into part 40, we will be going into another supplemental report. This is dated 10/10/2018, and it reads, on 10/10/2018 at approximately 1300 hours, Evidence Supervisor Purcell responded to the CBI lab to submit the buccal swabs, prints, hand and foot impressions collected from Chris Watts for comparison. If some of you is not aware of what the buccal swabs are, they are actually the DNA they took from his cheeks and the inside of his mouth. Buccal actually means mouth. Purcell was met there by CBI evidence technician Tracy Benson. Purcell took custody of 6 pieces of evidence from technician Benson for transport to the Frederick Police Department. These items include clothing belonging to Chris Watts and handwritten notes. All items were transported by Purcell to the Frederick Police Department and locked into evidence, nothing further. Okay, going on down, this is going to be the actual report. It says on 8/13, a triple homicide of Shanann Watts, 34, and her 2 daughters, Belle, 4, and Celeste, 3, occurred in their Frederick home. I respectfully submit the following items for forensic testing. Item 173 are buccal swabs collected from the defendant, Chris Watts, on October the 4th, 2018, requesting DNA analysis and comparison to previously collected evidence. Item 174 are fingerprints, cards, and hand impressions from the defendant, Chris Watts, on October the 4th, 2018, requesting latent prints analysis with previously collected evidence. Items 175 are foot impressions from the defendant Chris Watts on October the 4th, 2018, requesting latent print comparison to the previously collected evidence. Signed, Detective Baumover. Okay, and this is the laboratory examination, and this is the report. Chris is the suspect, and of course the victims are Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. Homicide times 3, and evidence buccal, I always want to call it buccal swabs, fingerprint card, and footprint impressions. They were requested by the officer. They were submitted by Officer Purcell, and Officer Purcell signed off on them. Also, property release and disposal receipt, Kevin Kovac. 2 greeting cards, 1 handwritten card. Number 3, 1 miscellaneous clothing of Chris Watts. And item 4, 1 video interview with Nicole Kessinger on August the 16th, 2018. And if you will remember, and if you have listened to the previous discovery read-throughs, Nicole, when she went in with her father on the 16th to do her second interview, the first one was at the park on the 15th. The second one was at the police department with Kevin Kovac. This was actually her first interview with Kevin Kovac. Her first interview period was with FBI agents. But when she went in with Kevin, she actually brought in the cards, the letters, and the clothing that Chris had left at her house to him. She didn't destroy those evidence that she had of his, I guess his hurt and his lie didn't affect her enough to destroy these things. It only affected her enough to destroy her text and SIM card. So, that said, his personal items, his clothing and handwritten cards and handwritten letters, those didn't affect her as much as those texts for some reason. So she hung on to those, and somebody, or maybe she just decided herself, to just bring them in with her that day. She didn't drive there. They actually picked her up. She actually was picked up and met her dad there. So anyway, this going on down. This is also from Kevin Kovac. Item number 2, 1, data disk. 1, phone extraction data. Items returned to the agency Frederick Police Department. Amanda Purcell, October the 10th, 2018. Okay, this is going to be the CBI Forensic Service Division. It's going to have the agency case number, the name. The victims are Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and the suspect, of course, is Chris. On Monday, October the 4th, 2018, Weld County DA's Office investigator Kathy Hulsher requested assistance in the execution of a Rule 16 order on Thursday, October the 4th at 2 p.m. at the Weld County Jail. Investigator Hulsher specifically requested assistance in taking barefoot impressions from Chris Watts. Forensic scientist Kaylee Henson and I arrived at the Weld County Jail at approximately 13:30 hours on Thursday, October the 4th. There we met several other individuals, including Investigator Hulsher, Frederick Police Department Detective Dave Baumover, and Colorado State Public Defender's Office Investigator Sylvia Martinez. We were then escorted by jail personnel back to a common area where the Rule 16 collection was to be performed. The Rule 16 collection was initiated at approximately 14:06 hours in the Weld County Jail. After the buccal swabs and major case prints from the hands were taken by Investigator Hulsher, Henson and I collected barefoot samples from Chris Watts. A total of 5 barefoot samples were taken, AK-01, using the fingerprint powder handprint adhesive lifter method. Evidence transfer. Item AK-01 was placed and sealed. The item was then transferred to Frederick Police Department Detective Baumover at 14:48 hours. Henson and I departed from this area of the jail at approximately 14:50. No photographs were taken by CBI at this time. And that just is the item identifier, AK-01, foot impressions from Chris Watts. Okay, this is also, this report was generated on October the 17th, 2018 at 11:33 a.m. Scarlett's body-worn camera flyer distribution, Davis's body-worn camera photos, Dahl's flyer distribution, Bake's home search, and the Walgie photos of the house. Okay, this is another investigative supplement. The date of this report is 8/27. Contains entities exempt from disclosure. Description: initial analytic assistance provided for Frederick missing persons case. Occurrence from August the 14th at 11:28 a.m. and occurrence to August the 18th. Agency CBI of Denver. On 8/14/2018, I Investigative Analysis Jillian Gainley responded to the Frederick Police Department to provide analytic assistance during a missing persons investigation. Address number 1, related number 1, is the Police Department of Frederick. Subject number 1. Subject number 2, of, associate of subject number 1. Nicole Kessinger. Her occupation, quality control and safety. Her alias is Nikki. Missing person number 1, Bella. Missing person number 2, Celeste. And of course, missing number 3, Shanann. The synopsis. On 8/14/2018, I Investigative Analysis Jillian Gainley responded to the Frederick Police Department to provide analytic assistance during a missing persons investigation. Action taken. On August the 14th, 2018, at 3:14 p.m., I received a text from CBI agent Tammy Lee requesting me to preserve phone records for Shanann Watts and Chris Watts. She also asked if I could find and preserve Facebook records for both Shanann and Chris. I sent 2 preservation requests to AT&T Mobility for Chris and Shanann's phone. After completing these requests, Agent Tammy Lee asked if I could come to the Frederick Police Department to assist on scene. I arrived at the Frederick PD at 6:34 p.m. and was briefed on any updates. While at the police department on 8/14, it says 2017, but that is definitely a typo. It should be, as we all know, 2018. While at the police department on 8/14, and that should say 2018 and not 2017, so that is a typo. I was forwarded information received from Tony Husky, the manager with Anadarko, regarding Chris Watts' GPS records from July and August in his work vehicle. By placing the given coordinates in Google Maps, I was able to determine the likely path he took on the morning of 8/13, and his first significant stop that morning. This information was shared with CBI, FBI, and the Frederick Police Department. I also ran any residential addresses that he spent significant time at through public and criminal justice databases to establish a pattern of life and any relevant associates. No persons of note were discovered through this analysis. I was also forwarded the initial returns from Verizon requests by FBI agent Kevin Hoyland. This record was for Chris Watts' work phone. I was asked to run the subscriber data and attempt to establish a timeline for Chris Watts for Sunday, 8/12/2018, and Monday, 8/13. Each unknown phone number was run through the criminal and public databases to identify the subscriber data. This information was forwarded to FBI agent Kevin Hoyland and CBI agent Tammy Lee. Once the information was forwarded, I uploaded the records to our cell phone analysis software, GeoTime, to analyze call patterns and timeline information. The software automatically converts all data from UTC to Mountain Standard Time when applicable. I left Frederick for the night at around 11:30 p.m. The next morning, 8:15 at 8:07 a.m., I received information from CBI agent Stacy Galbraith that Chris Watts possibly had a girlfriend, Nikki Kessinger. This information was provided by Tony Husky. Husky forwarded an email communication between Kessinger and Watts that may be relevant. Agent Galbraith requested that I do a full workup on this individual. So say a full workup. So say they were definitely planning to deeply look into her. I completed searches in public and criminal justice databases to prepare a full and complete law enforcement support packet. The packet was forwarded to all relevant law enforcement personnel. While at the command post on 8/15, I received a cell phone return from Verizon Wireless for Nicole Kessinger. Agent Kevin Hoyland and I agreed that I would analyze the document for any relevant content, while he would analyze the phone tolls. I highlighted the document to illustrate any contact between Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts. Okay, I can stop right here for just a moment. And a lot of people says that Anadarko gave her a work phone. Well, this very much says that no. Anadarko actually did pay a portion of her bill because she did use her personal phone for work-related, emails and calls and such as that. So they did pay a portion of her bill, if not all. That we're not certain of. They could have paid her whole bill for. However, as you will see right here, this phone is in Nicole Kessinger's name. It is not in an Anadarko name. So that tells you it was her personal phone. It was not given to her by Anadarko. However, they did, pick up either some or maybe all of the bill. That we're not certain of. I personally don't think they picked it all up, because I know a lot of companies that do just what Anadarko did here, and they usually don't pick the entire bill up. Especially for a temp employee. Sometimes for their full-time employees they will, but not a temporary. Additionally, I received the returns from AT&T for both Shanann and Chris's personal phones. I ran both returns through the GeoTime and noted any relevant calls during times of interest. The software automatically converts all data from UTC to Mountain Standard Time when applicable. I also researched criminal and public data sources to attempt to identify any known contacts in the phone returns. Throughout the rest of the day, I completed any necessary searches to identify contact information for relevant parties in the investigation. On 8/15/2018, I also received a copy of the Celebrite cell phone dump that was done by Decano Police Department on Chris Watts' personal phone. Like the other phones, Agent Kevin Hoyland and I came to the agreement that I would analyze the content and he would analyze the phone tolls. Throughout the next several weeks, I started building a timeline on Analysis Notebook to illustrate any relevant events in the weeks leading up to the homicide. I pulled my data from official police reports, cell phone returns, and phone providers. Shanann Watts, Chris Watts personal, Chris Watts work, and Nicole Kessinger. The Celebrite dump on Chris Watts' phone and screenshots taken directly from Shanann Watts' friends' phones. The timeline is not a complete representation of all data available and should be considered a draft. On 9/11/2018, it was determined that another investigation would complete the timeline in another software that is more easily shared with the group. My work on the timeline ceased at this point. End of report. Attachments: Alute Mountain, cell site incoming, outgoing, LEA, historical calls, details with cell site's explanation form, historical text messaging detail report explanation, subscriber information text message detail, Verizon Volti cell site call detail explanation form, Volti DR cell site, AT&T Chris personal, Chris 1702 personal Celebrite, Nikki phone extension from Verizon Wireless. Okay, now look at this, y'all. Shanann's Apple Watch. There's been a lot of talk about her Apple Watch. Well, it looks like they did pull from her Apple Watch on the dates mentioned above, which was sometime between 8/15, which is August the 15th, and September the 11th. Shanann's personal, 4-minute stop at 2:01, SMS content, financial apps on Shanann's phone, handwritten notes Ganley, iNet Now app issues, interaction log, Kessinger Nicole, LESP, Kessinger Nicole, McCoy preservation, Nikki phone Excel, preservation request Chris Watts, production of records for Xfinity, Shanann's Facebook sheet photo, Shanann phone preservation request, Tuesday morning Nikki Chris, Watts House 2 job site, Chris Watts, Anadarko, July bill cycle minutes 8/14/18, Anadarko, current messages 8/14/18, Anadarko current minutes 8/14/18, Chris Watts July, Chris Watts August 2, Vibrant chat, and a timeline draft. Okay, this is going to be a case master report. The date initiated was August the 14th. Contains entities exempt from disclosure. The agency CBI, investigations, Tammy Lee, missing persons case, adult missing person, juvenile missing person, assistance, Frederick Police Department with missing person case. Case status open. CBI crime scene autopsy report. August the 17th. Tammy Lee is the reporting law enforcement, and the backup is Eric Bryant, crime scene analyst, CBI. This supplement report contains the attached CBI crime scene report related to the autopsies performed on Shanann, Bella, and Celeste on Friday, August the 17th, 2018. This supplement does not contain a narrative. Okay, this is the CBI Forensic Services Division, and it's going to be the victims is Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and the suspect Chris Watts. Notification: on Thursday, the 16th of August, 2018, I, the undersigned, was called by CBI Crime Scene Unit Manager David Maloney. I was directed to assist in documenting the autopsies of 3 victims involved in a homicide investigation. The autopsy was scheduled for 10 a.m. August the 17th at the McKenzie Medical Center in Loveland, Colorado. Autopsy: I arrived at the medical center at 9:45 a.m. I met with CBI agent Tammy Lee, members of the district attorney's office, as well as the Frederick Police Department's Detective David Baumover. The autopsies were conducted by Dr. M. Burson, who was assisted by J. Weiner. The autopsy of Shanann Watts was conducted first. I photographed the victim before and after cleaning. Shanann Watts' body was in an advanced stage of decomposition. She was dressed in a t-shirt, bra, and panties. A large protrusion was evident near her vaginal area. The remains of a fetus was visible. Okay, this was done on August the 17th. They say she was in an advanced stage of decomposition at this point. So that should, in my opinion, tell them that her date of death was not the 16th, the day she was recovered, if her decomp was already in advanced state. So I'm not sure why everything on all of her records, everything says date of death the 16th. It should not. The autopsy of Shanann Watts was conducted first. No, don't read that. The autopsy of Bella Watts was conducted next. I photographed the victim before and after cleaning. Bella Watts' body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Bella Watts was dressed in a onesie and underwear. See, a onesie, that's not correct. I mean, we've heard so many different things about what the girls were wearing. Not so many, but we have heard pajamas. We have heard a pajama, like a gown, nightgown. We have heard just a t-shirt and panties. And here it says onesie. So, the autopsy of Celeste Watts was conducted next. I photographed the victim before and after cleaning. Celeste Watts' body was dressed in a diaper, underwear, and a t-shirt. Celeste Watts' body was in an advanced state of decomposition. As each autopsy was conducted, the victim's clothing was placed on a clean sheet. I photographed the clothing. It was then packaged by J. Weiner and transferred to the custody of Dave Baumover. All of the autopsies concluded about 1900 hours, and that would be 7 p.m. Okay, going on down. This is going to be the photo numbers, photo identifiers, Shanann, Bella, and Celeste autopsies. Eric Bryant, crime scene analyst. This is a case master report. Date was initiated on 8/14. The CBI investigations of Denver. The lead law enforcement officer Tammy Lee. Missing person open. 814. CBI Investigative Supplement. Chris Watts' CPR records. Date occurrence from 9/21/2018. The supplement report documents follow-up conducted on Chris Watts' CPR training records. Synopsis. This supplemental report documents follow-up conducted on Chris Watts' CPR training records. Action taken on Monday, September the 10th, 2018, I, CBI agent Tammy Lee, received an email from Craig W., who indicated his law firm, Mellon, Lundquist, Morris, and W. represents SRP Environmental, LLC. W advised he was willing to comply with the request for records, but they had some questions and concerns. On Tuesday, September the 11th, 2018, I called and left W a message to call me after receiving his email. I spoke with W, and he advised they were willing to provide the documents and information. I advised W that Weld County District Attorney's Office Chief Deputy District Attorney Steve Wren would also like to speak with him. Wren called W and spoke to him directly. On Wednesday, September the 12th, 2018, I received an email from W who advised the following. Please find attached training documents, sign-in sheets, and curriculums in answer to the original request from Ms. Lee for training records on March the 4th, 2015 and May the 16th, 2017. SRP Environmental Standard Procedure is to conduct 2 trainings per day. Mr. Watts attended the morning session on March the 4th and the afternoon session on May the 16th, 2017. The table of contents for the 2 classes are also attached. The 2010 version used for the 2015 classes, as well as the 2016 version that was used for the 2017 classes. Please let me know when you would like to schedule a phone discussion with the trainers, and we will try to facilitate that. Breanne Sackett is no longer with the company, but Ray Gibson is a current employee. The attachments received by W are attached to this supplement report. Investigation continues. Attachment 3:15 a.m., 3:15 p.m., 5:17 a.m., 5:17 p.m., 2010 and 2015. Case Master Report, date initiated August the 14th, 2018. Contains entities exempt from disclosure. Agency CBI. Tammy Lee is the lead law enforcement officer. Case status open. Investigative supplement 2018. Report date October the 3rd. Description, witness follow-up. Occurrence from October the 3rd, 2018 until October the 3rd, 2018. Synopsis. Follow up with friends of Shanann Watts about Shanann's alcohol consumption. Subject and witness number 1, Cindy Durasat. Subject witness number 2, Karen Epps. Subject witness number 3, Christina Meacham. Subject witness number 4, Cassandra Rosenberg. Narrative begins on the following page. And the reason they actually wanted to talk with these ladies is because they were like the last ones that was actually with Shanann besides Nicole Atkinson. They were with her in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the reason they're concerned about any alcohol consumption is because in the autopsy, her ethanol levels was very high. So the coroner and the forensics and everything, they wanted to rule out that, that she had been drinking, because with her ethanol levels that high, they just wanted to rule out any possibility she had been drinking. And then if they could rule that out, then they would just, I assume, because that's what they did, go ahead and just assume that her ethanol levels were that high due to decomposition. Obviously, they questioned that themselves because they did a follow-up interview with these ladies. Now, please understand, I'm not saying I thought Shanann was drinking, because I've stated it before. And I'll do it one more time in case some of you haven't heard me say it. But we've all watched Shanann walk to that door. That last walk to her front door when she goes in. She does not appear to me whatsoever to have drank anything. Nothing. So personally, I absolutely do not believe that she was drinking anything. But of course, these guys, this is their job, ethanol levels that high, they have to rule out anything before they can just assume it's part of decomposition. I have other theories myself on why her ethanol was so high, and it definitely isn't that she was consuming alcohol. And it's also I'm not fully convinced it was all due to decomposition. I actually made a video about it on the whole gas can Chris was so concerned about. If you haven't seen that video, it's right here, and I will link it at the end of this as well, because her ethanol levels were very high. Even Cece's was very high, oddly, strangely high. So, but I don't think it was alcohol consumption at all, whatsoever. Now, I do know there's a channel or two out here that thinks maybe she was drinking wine on the plane or whatever, and that even wouldn't be a big deal, even if she was pregnant. And I'm not saying it would be a big deal. What I'm saying is I don't think she did, because Shanann just doesn't seem like the type to me that would do anything like that, knowingly being pregnant. I just don't see it. That, and the fact that walking to that front door, she didn't appear whatsoever to me to look like she had consumed anything, personally. So, that said, moving right along. Synopsis. On Wednesday, October the 3rd, 2018, ICBI field agent Greg Santer contacted several of Shanann Watts' friends to inquire about their knowledge of Shanann's alcohol consumption. I contacted Christina Meacham, Cindy Darasat, Cassandra Rosenberg, and Karen Epps via telephone. I contacted several of Shanann's friends and inquired about their knowledge of Shanann's alcohol consumption. Christina Meacham stated she had stayed at Shanann's house for about 2 months in 2017 when Shanann was recovering from neck surgery. Meacham said the only time she saw Shanann drink any alcohol during her stay with Shanann was on about August the 20th of 2017, and that was when the two of them had dinner at Shanann's house. Meacham said this was about a week before Shanann had her neck surgery, at approximately August the 28th, 2017. Meacham said they bought a bottle of white wine, and they each had 1 glass of white wine during dinner. Meacham said she was with Shanann most of the time when she was in Colorado. Meacham said she took over the care for the children during this time, and she did some of the cleaning around the house while Shanann was recovering. Meacham said she did not recall ever seeing any alcohol in the house other than that half bottle of wine left over from their dinner on about August the 20th, 2017. Meacham also said that she had been on a few business trips with Shanann for their Thrive business. Meacham said alcohol consumption is not part of the Thrive healthy living lifestyle that Shanann was following. She said she did see Shanann have a few alcoholic drinks on these trips, but classified Shanann's alcohol consumption as very minimal and only social drinking. Meacham said she has never seen Shanann drunk or even mildly intoxicated. Meacham said she has known Shanann for more than 14 years. Meacham said if Shanann was going to have an alcoholic drink, it would probably be wine. Cindy Darrissette stated she was with Shanann in Arizona for the Thrive Conference in August 10th through the 12th of 2018. Darrissette said she was in charge of the event in Arizona, so she did not have the opportunity to spend much time with Shanann. Darrissette said she did have dinner with Shanann on Friday, August the 10th. Darrissette said she did not say Shanann drank any alcohol during this dinner. Darrissette said Shanann seemed like she was not her normal self during the weekend. She said Shanann seemed like she was not her normal self during the weekend. She said Shanann appeared to be defeated. She said Shanann appeared to be devastated, that Shanann was possibly losing her marriage. Darrissette said she also had dinner with Shanann on Sunday, August the 12th, 2018, at the Thirsty Line in Tempe, Arizona. Darrissette said after dinner she drove Shanann to the airport for her flight back to Denver. Darrissette provided a picture of them at dinner. She attached the photograph. Darrissette said she didn't see Shanann drink any alcohol during this dinner. Darrissette said Shanann was not much of a drinker, and she always wanted to be an attentive mom, so she didn't want to be so impaired that she couldn't take care of her kids. Darrissette added that because Shanann was pregnant, there was no way Shanann had anything to drink, and 100% would not put that child in danger by drinking. Darrissette said Shanann might have one drink in a social setting. Darrissette said Shanann might have one drink in a social setting, and if Shanann were to drink it, would have been a glass of wine. Darrissette said she and all of her friends did raise a lemon drop drink to honor Shanann at Shanann's funeral, because that would have been a drink that Shanann would have liked. Cassandra Cassie Rosenberg stated she was with Shanann in Arizona during the Thrive Conference on August the 10th through the 12th. Rosenberg said she stayed at the same hotel room with Shanann during the weekend. Rosenberg said Shanann seemed to be depressed. She explained and said Shanann had been talking to her almost every day while Shanann was in North Carolina, and Shanann had expressed concern about the way Chris Watts was acting towards her. Rosenberg also said Shanann was not feeling well because of the pregnancy, and she was also extremely busy with her Thrive business. Rosenberg said Shanann was not eating very well either. Rosenberg said she never saw Shanann drinking any alcohol while she was with Shanann in Arizona. Rosenberg said there was no way Shanann would drink alcohol while she was pregnant. She said Shanann was not much of a drinker anyway. She said if Shanann did ever drink anything, it would be a glass of wine. She said that Shanann told her that if she did drink alcohol, it would cause a flare-up of her lupus and fibro. Rosenberg said she had known Shanann for more than 2 years, and she has never seen Shanann drunk or even slightly intoxicated. Karen Epps stated she was with Shanann in Arizona during the Thrive Conference on August the 10th through the 12th. Epps said Shanann said she wasn't feeling good in general. She said Shanann told her she was having issues with Chris, and she added that the pregnancy was making her feel bad. She said she had been speaking with Shanann on the phone when Shanann was in North Carolina. During this time, Shanann complained that she was feeling dehydrated, and Shanann was vomiting because of the dehydration. Epps said she's never saw Shanann drink any alcohol while she was with her in Arizona. She said she couldn't remember a time when she has seen Shanann drink any alcohol. She said she has known Shanann for over a year. Nothing further. Greg Zenter. Photographs of left to right. Cindy Darrissette, Addie Maloney, Nicole Atkinson, Shanann Watts at the Thirsty Lion restaurant in Arizona. Photograph taken on Sunday, August the 11th at approximately 6 p.m. I'm not understanding on this why these ladies are all were all called and asked about this. However, Nicole Atkinson wasn't. You would think she would have been part of this call as well, but she was not. Or part of this asking, but she wasn't. I don't know why. And it doesn't really show the picture, but unless it does on down, but I think we've all seen this picture or saw this picture, and we definitely know the picture they're talking about. Okay, moving on down. This is the CBI case master report 2018, and again, an investigative supplement. Phone interview with Ray Gibson, Watts' CPR instructor. Synopsis. On Thursday, October the 4th, ICBI investigated Tammy Lee interviewed Raymond Gibson with SRP Environmental LLC. Gibson was the CPR first aid instructor who taught Christopher Watts on May the 16th, 2017 at Anadarko Petroleum's Platteville, Colorado office. Witness number 1, Raymond Gibson. Synopsis. On Thursday, October the 4th, 2018, ICBI agent Tammy Lee interviewed Raymond Gibson, a CPR first aid instructor who taught Christopher Watts on May the 16th, 2017 at Anadarko Petroleum's Platteville, Colorado office. Action taken. I called and spoke with Raymond Gibson, who was listed as the primary instructor for a medic first aid, basic plus CPR, AED, and first aid for adults class roster. According to the class roster, the training book took place on May the 16th, 2017 at an Anadarko office in Platteville, Colorado. Chris Watts' name was signed on the roster and with the listed telephone number of his work number. Gibson explained he has worked for CRP Environmental LLC since the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017. Gibson stated he taught Medic First Basic Plus 2015 version to Anadarko employees on May the 16th, 2017. Gibson explained he cannot recall anything specific about the class or the students because they teach so often for Anadarko. Gibson explained the schedule for trainings for Anadarko employees occur 2 days a week, 2 times a day, every 3 to 4 months. Gibson estimated there are between 300 to 400 Anadarko employees who are trained by CRP Environmental. So, all of the classes tend to blend together in his mind. Gibson stated as far as he was aware, Anadarko only requested CRP Environmental to teach CPR and first aid for adults. I asked Gibson if there was any component of his trainings that focused on infant and child CPR or first aid. Gibson said his trainings only cover adults, as he is not a certified instructor in pediatric infant and child CPR or first aid. Gibson explained occasionally students will ask about infant-child CPR during the class, and he has had other students discuss infant and child CPR and first aid. Gibson said there are numerous employees of Anadarko who are also EMTs and will share the class their knowledge as it pertains to infant and child CPR. Gibson explains his trainings are video-based and use adult mannequins for the practical examination of CPR. Gibson said he also adds in components specific to the oil field and Colorado. I asked Gibson what he meant, and he said he will usually discuss opioid abuse, which is a big problem in Colorado, as well as cover numerous hand injuries, which are common to working on an oil well site. I observed Gibson checked emotional considerations on the roster as a supplemental topic. Gibson explained emotional considerations was when he would discuss how the outcome of first aid CPR is not always positive and it can be difficult for some people to handle. Gibson said he tells students there are things they can do so they do not internalize their emotions, speaking with family, friends, or a professional. Gibson explained the former primary instructor for SRP Environmental LLC was Brianne Sackett. Gibson said Brianne was certified to teach pediatric and infant child CPR in 2015. According to the documents received by SRP Environmental, Sackett taught Medic First, Basic plus CPR, AED, and First Aid for adults to Anadarko employees on March the 4th, 2015. According to the roster, the training occurred at the Anadarko office in Platteville, Colorado, and Chris Watts signed the sheet, no telephone number listed. Gibson stated he believes Sackett was still teaching using the 2010 version of Medic First when she instructed Watts in 2015. I asked Gibson if he had Sackett's phone number, and he checked and said he did not. Gibson said he believes Sackett worked for C3 Real Estate in Greenlee, Colorado. I thank Gibson for speaking with me and disconnected the call. Nothing further. Attachments none. Okay, going into another investigative supplement. Date report of October the 4th, 2018. The description is downloaded media information provided to the DA's office. Occurrence from September the 11th to September the 11th. Synopsis: on Tuesday, September the 11th, 2018, I provided Kathy Hulsher, the Weld County DA's office, a thumb drive containing all media files I had downloaded in reference to Christopher Watts or any related individuals up to that point. The files were all downloaded either from Facebook or YouTube using open source intelligence techniques. The screenshots of text messages were provided to CBI agents by Shanann's friends directly from their cell phones. No narrative is included in this supplement. End of report. Okay, and this is the Case Master Report, August the 14th, Agency CBI Investigations. Tammy Lee is the lead law enforcement officer, and it's still an open case as of 8/14/2018. Okay, this is where we're going to stop this video. When we come back with part 41, we are going to be going into the interview with, I don't know if I can say this name or not, Olayinka Hamza. Okay, now I know who this is, and I will tell you who this is. This is the attorney that Shanann spoke with about divorce in Colorado. So when we come back, we will be getting into his interview report. I do thank you all for listening. If you learned anything new or you just sat and listened to us read through it, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. It does help the channel. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe and get all notifications. And until next time, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching, listening. This is Unjustified.